My penis was oscillating between extremely sensitive and borderline traumatized.
This one's wife. Everyone's an auntie, except the real ones. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. It's a Tuesday, so that means another episode of This One's Wife's Execrable podcast has thrust itself upon the world. I've told you before, I'm not going to spend any time whatsoever listening to it, but I will dissect what comes out of it for the purpose of explaining more about this one's wife's narcissism and also to have a bit of a chortle at how inept she is. I'll allow others to report on what it contains. After all, we should not be giving her any listens whatsoever. Episode 3 of the podcast presents us with Katie Lee. In case you're not fully familiar with who she is the founder of Highbrow Hippie. And previously, this one's wife turned up at one of her openings where she was launching a new hair care brand or such like. Hardly the big ticket kind of work that this one's wife envisaged she would be involved in. Now, interestingly, Katie Lee just happens to be this one's wife's hair colorist. Yes, quelle surprise. And has also apparently been on the receiving end of some form of investment from this one's wife, which is presumably part of the reason why she had been press ganged into appearing on episode 3. She's described by this one's wife as a friend, but as you all know, the narcissist has no genuine friends, and they're non-intimate secondary sources. And particularly with this one's wife, her friends, in inverted commas, are people basically on her payroll or are suppliers. They're not people that she's really met and has become friends with in the way that you would make a friendship. Anyway, Katie Lee appears, and she's not exactly a titan of industry. She established a blog back in 2012. Sounds familiar. And then her brand was established in 2019, just 6 years ago. The turnover of Highbrow Hippie is less than $5 million. So it's not exactly a world-renowned business that's kicking ass and taking names. Nevertheless, a business has been founded, a female was involved, and because this one's wife has invested in that business and Katie Lee is her colorist, this means that she gets to appear on the show. With all due respect to Katie Lee, she doesn't strike me as a particularly interesting guest to have, and one where many people will be going, sorry, who's that? And what has she really got to tell us? And as you'll find out, it's not a lot. This one's wife previously has been involved with 2 guests where the amount of business insight provided was the square root of fuck all. Let's find out if she does any better in episode 3. The Daily Mail reports that this one's wife has described a hairstylist friend as an auntie to her children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, in the latest episode of her new podcast. Quite what that's got to do with business is anybody's guess. She explained that her 6-year-old son and 3-year-old daughter run out whenever Katie Lee, co-founder of hair brand Highbrow Hippie, arrives in her car. Isn't that fascinating? You want to learn about business? This one's wife tells us that her 2 children go running out to greet the hair colorist. Absolutely fascinating. In episode 3 of Confessions of a Female Founder, this one's wife described Lee as Auntie Katie. Lee called herself Super Aunt, adding that she had no children. The Duchess, who revealed last November that she had invested in Highbrow Hippie, also referred to Serena Williams, Elizabeth's auntie, in an online post last month. But this one's wife made no reference to the children's auntie, the Princess of Wales, who first met Archie a week after his birth in May 2019. It's not known whether Kate has met Lilibet. Archie and Lilibet also have no relationship with any of the women on this one's wife's side who could be called their aunts. This one's wife has one half-sister, Samantha Markle, but has cut off ties with her. The Duchess's half-brother, Thomas Markle Jr., has been married twice, but this one's wife also had no relationship with him since well before she wed Prince Harry in 2018. So her biological sister, half-sister, who could be an aunt, who is an aunt, isn't referred to as an aunt. Her sister-in-law, Catherine, who is referred to as an aunt, is never, or who actually is an aunt, is never referred to by this one's wife. And the two spouses of Thomas Markle Jr., who are aunts by marriage, are similarly not referred to and have nothing to do with the children. So 4 actual aunts are never referred to and have nothing to do with the children, because as a narcissist, this one's wife simply doesn't care about the well-being of her children and having any interaction with their family. There might be some individuals, for example, who might say, I don't particularly get on well with my brother, but I'm not going to stop him having a relationship with his nephews and nieces, and they allow that involvement. I know, for instance, of an individual that I've known for some time whose own parents were both dead, and she split up with her husband, but she never prevented her ex-husband's parents from seeing their grandchildren. She saw it as important that they did so, given that there were no grandparents on her side. And you might have thought that given that this one's wife has ostracized certain members of her family, so the aunts on that side have nothing to do with the children, that she might be more inclined to involve Catherine. But as you know, she is the nemesis, and therefore the genuine aunts in the family are disengaged from. They are kept at arm's length by this one's wife because she doesn't deem that there is anything appropriate to gain from them. She doesn't care about how it affects them to have no relationship with the niece and nephew. She doesn't care about how that might impact upon her children. All that matters is the issue of control for her. And then she doubles down on this behaviour by excluding genuine aunts from having any form of relationship with the niece and nephew, and instead attributing that title to 2 people who are loose friends. Not even close friends. A tennis player who really is only involved because they share the same agency, and a hair colourist. That demonstrates the superficiality of this narcissist, that she ends up involving 2 people who have no real relationship with the children, but has them referred to as aunt. That she gives them that label to make them seem special. And this is because they're painted white by this one's wife. Thus, they get the title of aunt. The genuine aunts are excluded because they are painted black. And she doesn't care about whether the children should have a relationship with them at all, irrespective of how she might feel about her half-sibling and her various sisters-in-law. No, that's irrelevant. The needs of the children are secondary to what she requires. Because Thomas Markle Jr., Samantha Markle and the Princess of Wales are all painted black, this one's wife has nothing to do with them, which therefore means that they have nothing to do with the niece and with the nephew. Instead, she decides that she'll give those titles and place them upon a hair colourist and a tennis player who doesn't really like this one's wife, but in effect is forced to have something to do with her as a consequence of them having the same agency. Once again, the superficiality of the narcissist writ large and the absence of emotional empathy and the necessity of cutting out people who should be having a relationship with the children but won't, because of the needs of the narcissist. But there's more in relation to Auntie, because this one's wife asks her hair colourist, let's imagine and assume when you sell, because you will, and it'll be a great day of celebration, what would you do in your next chapter? Hang on a second. This is Confessions of a Female Founder. So wouldn't it be more important to be talking about how you established your business, not when you're going to sell at some so far undefined future point? But of course not, because this one's wife is an idiot, because she doesn't actually think about what really matters with regard to talking about founding a business. All she wants to talk about are things relating to herself. That question was asked and Lee replied, oh gosh, I want to kind of go back to my English major roots. I want to get some writing done. I'd like to live in another country, perhaps my native land of Jamaica. Maybe I'll try a stint in Europe. Well, That's all very interesting for Katie Lee and what her future hopes and desires are, but it's got fuck all to do with business. I'm just a really naturally curious person, she said. I was not blessed with kids. I'm still holding out hope I might be a stepmama one day, but for right now, I'm just super aunt. This one's wife said, I mean, our kids love Auntie Katie. I bet this is the first time that she's called her Auntie Katie. I bet she's never referred to her in that respect hitherto. It's just been given in the course of this podcast. I mean, our kids love Auntie Katie, she said. It's just our favourite when they run out, your car. It's like Katie. Lee added, I know, I feel like I look for them first. Well, isn't that brilliant? Such brilliant insights into business. Once again, this one's wife talking about minutiae, talking about family and aunties. But maybe a bit more came our way later on in respect of business. Well, she explained when she greeted Lee, saying, disregard the state of my hair right now. I'm so excited I'm seeing you next week. I should have a baseball cap on. Frippery. Irrelevant frippery. But we've come to expect this from this one's wife. The Duchess said the pair met in 2020. A little bit similar to when she talked about how she met Whitney Wolfe Herd at a New Year's Eve party or on New Year's Eve. We don't need to know how this one's wife met these people, but she has to talk about this because it's all about her. She explained that she'd attempted to dye her own hair at home during the pandemic. It was 2020. It was very much 2020. Gosh, she's so insightful. She added, my family had just moved to California. We were staying in our friend's home, and because it was the pandemic, I kept ordering boxed hair dye. And I thought, I'm going to look just like she does on the box. And instead, it was this very inky, almost Elvira-esque black hair. Well, we all know now that this one's wife dyes her hair. Lee, who was called in at the time to help this one's wife with her hair, said, I remember meeting you guys and you were so warm and both you and H wrapped us up in these big bear hugs. And I was like, I don't even know these people and I'm not a hugger, but let's do it. What a surprise. This one's wife again transgressing boundaries by hugging people that she doesn't actually know. Reflecting on having to close her hair salon during the pandemic, Lee added, it felt like such whiplash, and it felt like, gosh, we cannot get a break, you know. This one's wife laughed and added, oh, I understand. The Duchess promoted the Highbrow Hippie brand during the podcast, saying, look at you now. I mean, the name Highbrow Hippie is no longer just a blog and a hair salon, it's a product line too. You have a hair supplement and hair serum that you launched late last year, and it's already been named Best Hair Serum by Oprah Daily. This one's wife was pictured at the launch party of the firm's new hair wellness range in November 2024. Amid reports she was financially backing Lee's venture. Well, isn't all of that insightful and fascinating? This one's wife involves a boring guest who is a friend, namely a supplier and somebody that she's invested in. What can she talk about? Do we get to know the ins and outs of setting up her brand, her product line? No. We get to hear about how she's an auntie and how the kids look for her and how she describes herself as a super aunt. And of course, there's the usual praise for this one's wife about her and Harry being so warm and the disaster of dyeing her hair. And that's how Katie Lee got involved. What has that got to do with business? Absolutely nothing. But you're not surprised because once again, this self-absorbed narcissist has nothing to say about business because she knows nothing about business because she doesn't actually run a business. As I've explained elsewhere, As Ever isn't a business. It's a Potemkin outfit, which is designed to try and get somebody to take it over and give this one's wife a lot of money. She has nothing to share about establishing a business because she's never done it and still hasn't done it, and even then doesn't even have the ability to ask interesting and meaningful questions because she has no real interest in learning about businesses. She just wants to talk about her relationships with these people to demonstrate that she's got lots of friends. It's tedious, it's boring, and once again, this show does not do what it says it's meant to do. It doesn't tell you anything about business and is a complete failure in that regard. But once again, that's no surprise, is it, when it comes to this one's wife? I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.